Okay, we're going to get started now with Debbie and Greg Brann, and they're going to be talking about, there again, marketing. That was a big concern, and
Get up here.
it had a balanced production. So, Debbie and Greg Brann.
All right, good to be with y'all again. I'm going to start this off, but Debbie's the marketer. I'm just going to kick it off with how I used to do pitiful marketing, and she's going to take it from there. So let me see which way I need to point this.
No, you can point it anywhere. Did you turn it on?
Oh, okay. That helped. All right. There we go. So I used to, my dad had 300 cows, and we'd sell in trailer truckloads, 49,000 pounds would be the target, 50,000 pounds. And in cattle commodity, you get a premium for selling truckloads. And then later, my brother and I divided up the land, and I started selling half truckloads. And then as we got more regenerative, I would sell them natural, and that's just, no hormones or antibiotics and no feed at that time. And people liked to buy those because they felt like they might get a little bigger boost since they had never had the hormones before, like Ralgro or whatever. And then as it went on, the sheep and goats I sold to a Mennonite community, and they would process them for the public, and that went well. Then I also would market as a commodity market. We have sales in our area every 2 weeks. There's one available at different sale barns, and they go for around $2 a pound, which is a good price. And the target was 70 pounds or less and on the commodity, because they really start giving you a lick whenever you get above 70. Now, when we're selling direct to the public, our target is about 100 pounds. That last 20 to 30 pounds that you put on is a lot harder than the first 70. So you're holding them longer, and that doesn't sound that bad, but usually it's through the winter. And then also you've got the predator issue and all the other issues of just risk of the future. I had sometimes we'll separate the ram lambs from the others, and the guardian dogs like their guardian dog party, and they'd all go with the main group, and then they'd leave a group unprotected, and so that can be rather severe. Then later on, I would, let's say that I was going to sell at the sale barn, and that'd be December, January, or February is the best markets for sheep and goats. And then also Ramadan, and Ramadan floats. It's hard to keep up with. It's usually in September sometime. But if you sell before Ramadan, you get a premium. If you're a week after Ramadan, the price crashes. So you've got to figure out when that is, look that up, and keep up with it. I think they ought to just have a set day, but they don't go along with what I say. So, then later on, when I was selling at the commodity markets, I'd contact people like Debbie and direct marketers and say, I'm fixing to take my sheep and goats or the cattle to market, and if you want some, then come get them. But get them before Friday, because I'm going to haul them off on Friday. Because, I didn't want to deal with the public that much. What else on that? As far as not a marketing plan, but a business plan, wasn't much of one. It was just, if I spend my money on fence and water and seed, I can't go wrong. That was my business plan. So that's how we went about. Of course, we run the flirt, and like Alan said yesterday, we'll sometimes have them separate, sometimes together. And movement draws movement, so you keep them going. Now, here I want to point out an issue here. I'm going to get off subject just a little bit here. But see, I've got a fence set up right there, a temporary fence. If I didn't have that there, what would happen?
The sheep would be moving to catch up.
Oh, they'd be all running down this side of the fence. And if I didn't have a gate up here, I'd have a dang mess. So you watch that when you're moving animals. You don't want a gate in the center unless you do something like I've done here. All right, that's just showing some of our cattle and sheep, and I love small cows. My average cow size is probably 900 pounds, and we've decided that's too small for our market, because now they're great for the commodity market unless they look at that calf and say that looks like a short or a dwarf or whatever, and they don't look that way, so that hadn't been an issue. Smaller cattle bring a higher price per pound, and you can run more of them, so it works out very efficiently on the commodity market. But in selling beef, we have a processing fee, and we're haul bill, and Debbie can get more into that, but we'd like for them to be more like, right now we're selling about 900 pounders. And it's hard to get a 1,000 pound to 1,100 pound calf out of a 900 pound cow. And that last 100 pounds is hard to put on, especially on grass, and we're all grass fed. Mentioning that, the gains with grain, and I'm not promoting grain, it's a real thing, it's going to be 2 to 3 times more gain with grain. The cost is 2 to 3 times higher too, and the risk is higher. So, but this is what we're after. They're mainly red Angus cattle. There's some British white there. There's some Hereford, Charolais, mainly, Katahdin sheep, maybe a little bit of Dorper influence, but not much. And the Kiko. The soil is another part of, we're always focusing on the soil, and probably more so than about anything. I used to not even look at the animals much. It's all about the grass. And then now it's become about the soil, but I know it's all a whole, and we need to manage the whole, so that's what we're looking at. But the other day I mentioned something about loose soil. That's just a picture of how the soil life have just worked all that up, and there's not a lot of residue there. I may have pulled some back, but that's because the soil life is eating that residue. It's just looking at the cattle there, and there's a fence like I like to put them up now for the sheep and goats and cattle. Third clip down from the top and third up from the bottom. And that's good grass. I wouldn't mind it being taller, a little more mature, but that's fine. Target is 50 to 60% of mother's weight being the calf at weaning, and we don't wean till they're about 10 months old. You can see there's a recessive red gene in this cow because black's dominant, but there must have been a couple of recessives maybe in the bull too, huh? All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Debbie, and she's going to straighten out what I messed up there.
So this is our website, my website. Because I have another one for Greg, but I love marketing. I have always loved it. I've always dreamed in marketing and spreadsheets, and but the one thing I realized is that I hated selling. And I had to wrap my head around, how am I going to make this work? I've got to sell this stuff. And let me see, how do I go from here? So in 2009, I had 0 customers and $0 coming in. I just started a new farm in the Nashville area. And so just looking at our average for September, this is pretty much what we do at the farmer's market. We sell everything through the farmer's market. We have a small delivery in Nashville in midweek because we do dairy. So our average is about $1,500 to $2,000 an hour at the farmer's market. And that's what we sell annually. About 70 cattle, 70 lambs. This is not what we could sell, but it's what we can get processed.
She can sell more than I can produce, and I've had to come to that decision because I'll get overstocked if I try to produce too much. So I just have to be aware that, and it's going now. It's like it's perpetual, and we don't even have to. You do market in the newsletters and all, and you'll get into that, but it's. She's already to a level where it's easy now. I'll say it's easy. She spends all week doing it, but it looks easy.
So a couple years ago, we went ahead and switched over from just our website and Easy Cart to Barn to Door, which I have a love-hate relationship with. But we still have, 90 to 130 people just walking up. We don't do any kind of sampling. We never have. When I started the farm in 2009, it was myself and my 2 kids. And we've added Greg. And we don't have anybody else really working for us. We've done woofing. We've had about 80-something people woofing on our farm since.
Interns, y'all familiar with woofing? I'm sure everybody's not.
Okay. Yeah, it's an internship. It's almost like a farming dating website type thing where you both have profiles, and mostly our woofers have been from Europe, coming over and working for free. I'm sorry?
From Europe.
Yeah, we've had very few from the United States. Most have been from Europe, but it was free labor in exchange for room and board.
Tell them what it is, the acronym.
Yeah, it's the Worldwide Organization of Organic Farms. And there's
You don't-
also HelpX.
Don't have to be organic, but you need to be using organic practices.
Yeah. So we're trying to get these numbers up through our processor. I was really lucky that I had just sent an email to my processor in January of 2020 asking to bump up. And so our business tripled during COVID. So this is our farmer's market booth. I had my son take a picture of this because I realized I didn't have any pictures of our booth. And I don't know if you can see, but that whole lineup is for our booth. We have 22 people in that line at the market. They're right in front of everybody else's booth. And one of the things I realized in seeing this week is we don't have a sign up. There's no sign there saying River Cottage Farm. These people, they support us. They're our partners. And we've been there now at that farmer's market for 15 years. But my son counted, and you can't see the last few people in that lineup there. They show up with their bags, their coolers, and they're there every week.
And that is a line for your booth.
That's a line for our booth. That's our line, all the way to the end. Last one in line that you can see is the guy in the red shirt at the very, very back.
Yeah, they're lined up in front of other booths because there's just not much space, and the other vendors don't mind it because they get a little traffic, so.
Yeah, so we have between, I think 30 is about where we start out at 8 o'clock in the morning when they ring the bell, and so, yeah. So I realized that with selling, I'm trying to get somebody who doesn't want my product to buy my product. And I don't like to do that at all. Where marketing for me is helping my customers to get what they're already looking for. When I first started farming, there was no internet. And 100% of my customers were sick for about 10 years before somebody actually came to the farm looking for just a good porterhouse. I still remember that guy. And even then, my customer was already looking for something. And I try to think about it like I'm interrupting the conversation that's already going on in their heads. So I love to help people, and that's what I do. That's what my marketing consists of. Every single day, helping customers that want my products to be able to get them. And then in everything that I do, my labeling, everything, as Alan was saying, I don't want that to sell my product. I want that to be a pat on the back to my customer. That when they pull my meat out of their freezer, they're thinking, I'm awesome. Like, I'm doing all the things that I already want to do. So Alan did such a good job this morning with so much of this, but, understanding your story. It's all about storytelling. Who are you? Where have you been? Where are you now? And where are you going? That passion and your purpose is your superpower. And we can all tell our story. Even if you think you hate selling or marketing, it's all about just who are you and why are you doing this? And so much of the information that we got on the research, I was telling Alan, when we started raising grass-fed beef, like there was like one guy really doing any kind of research, and now it's just everywhere. And like he said, we're not even anywhere near what we're going to find out about the food that we raise. And then the next important thing is knowing who your customer is and building their profile. I can tell you absolutely everything about my customer, everything. Does she have a chest freezer? No. You know what I mean? You have to really understand what are they already doing? And, are they buying in bulk? Are they, my customer does not buy in bulk. I sell very few wholes and halves. But the biggest thing I think as far as your customer is understanding that you're selling a feeling. When they hand their money over to you, and I think a great exercise is to think about how you spend your money. Why do you have a Yeti and not just a cooler from Walmart? Like, what do you feel like that says about you when even if nobody sees your Yeti, it says something about you. If you drive a Subaru, you probably have a Yeti sticker on your Subaru. And so, what are they thinking about? What keeps them up at night? What are their fears? Regular advertising and marketing, I think, takes those fears and manipulates them. I homeschooled my kids, and I taught them logic. And one of the things we would do is we didn't have a TV, we would listen to like an ad, and I would ask my kids, what are they trying to make that woman who's gonna buy that washing machine feel? If she buys this particular washing machine, she's gonna feel like a better mom because she's gonna have way more time to take her kids to soccer, which is what they were trying to do in this commercial. And so we all want to be better. We all want to feel something about ourselves. And I think when people share my story, which is the goal, it's really not saying anything about me. It's more saying something about them. So when they're at a mom's night out or they're out with their friends and they talk about how they're supporting our farm, or they only buy at the farmer's market, or they only shop at River Cottage Farm, they're not really saying very much about me. They're really trying to explain who they are to their customer.
It's like they own a part of the farm.
Yes. Yeah, and I know what my customer wants to feel when they're standing in that line at the farmer's market. I've had customers before tell me that they were in Trader Joe's and they saw somebody that they always stand in line with, every week, and they went over and started talking to them like they're a tribe. They know each other, and she felt comfortable because she was like, we're both standing in line every week for River Cottage. Oh, I think this is the same thing. But absolutely everything that I put out, whether it's, like Alan was saying, our brochures or the sign that I will start making next week for our farmers market, I want to make sure that our customers get that same feeling. And like from my website, the colors that I use, the transitions that I use, everything in there, the words that I use, the quotes from Wendell Berry, they all make my customer feel a certain way. And I think there's so many different customers. Like, if I had if my business was only based on bulk meat, my customer would probably be homeschooling. They would probably only have one car. So they would not be going to the farmer's market. They would have a chest freezer. And their feeling when they handed over their money was that they were a good steward to God and their husband. And that's very different than my customer that stands in line, and they want to protect the environment. They want their money to go to somebody local.
You do sell some bundles. You
Yep.
Talk about that.
We sell bundles. We just started doing that, and bundles are great if you have some cuts that you don't sell. We're really lucky in that we don't really have any excess parts, but we don't give much of a discount for bundles either. Like, we have a breakfast bundle, and there's no discount. But for some reason, people love, I guess, not having to click on eggs, bacon, and sausage. They just buy it, and we get to choose what they want. This is a post. I don't know if you can bring that up. This is how I advertise. This is the most shared post that I've ever done. It's just, yeah, that'd be great. So we do a herd share. Oh no, you got to click on it. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just on the blog. You just need to click
Tell
on.
them the breed.
Yeah, hang on one second. You just need to click on you're not on the actual post. Yeah. That should get you there, I think. There you go. So this is my post about just going out into the pasture and seeing my cow. I knew she was ready to calve. And this is a story. This is a story about dancing with my cow to try to find out where she's hiding her calf. And so we have a place where most of our cows gave birth. It was called Narnia. And you can go ahead and just scroll through that there. And all I do is just talk about how I'm finding this calf. Go ahead, yeah. And there's the calf. And like, I knew it, a baby girl, And so, the mom comes up, and then I start my marketing. Over 95% of all calves born on dairy farms are taken away from their moms, not teacup. And I'm not saying anything negative about any other farm, but I'm giving my customers questions. When they read that, they're like, well, don't all dairy cows get to keep their babies with them? No, that doesn't happen. You can go ahead. Beautiful pictures, welfare of our animals at the very center of our management. Give them a little bit more. Tell them like, we're milking 15 to 18-year-old cows. And we have 40 families waiting for milk right now. I mean, we pretty much always have between 35 and 40 families waiting for milk. But with our milk too, it's a scarcity thing. That really drives a lot of our marketing, because we don't want to be huge. We want to have a very peaceful life. We don't really want to have a whole lot of people working at the farm. We just want to make the farm pay. And thankfully, at $10,000 to $12,000 a weekend on the farm, we're doing that, and it's working out really well. I send out 2 newsletters every month, and I do a giving newsletter and I do a selling newsletter. So my giving newsletter is just recipes. I'll say, you bought the best bacon on the planet. Now, how do you cook it perfect every single time? And I'll send out in my newsletters, I'll say, tell me what you want to know. Like, you want to know how to cook a roast in a sous vide, or in an Instant Pot? And so that's all I do. I don't sell at all in that newsletter. And then my next newsletter, which is the selling newsletter, it's called Let's put together a menu from the farm.
Debbie has a culinary degree too, and you did that so that you could sell better, right? Or market better.
30 years ago, there were no cool farmers 30 years ago. I realized only if I had a culinary degree would anybody really listen to me. But in my selling newsletter, that I'm just letting people know what we have. If we don't have fillets, when are they coming? When is our next chicken butchering date? So that has really helped me when I changed to let people know what I have and how they can put their whole menu together through the farm that week with what I have and what I don't have.
And this is on your website.
Yeah.
You want the PowerPoint back?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. And I
Last
think
slide, huh?
we're just about there.
Yeah, so we're having a pasture walk, and it's the third week of October. We've been doing it for about 25 years. I hesitate to say how many years we've been doing it because it gets people confused on what date it is, but it's October 19th this year. Starts at 10 a.m. Central Time and goes to about 3 p.m. And it varies, but we've had as many as 200 people, usually about 100, might be, vary from that. Y'all are welcome to come out. It's different this year in that we have the dairy added and we have this CRP kind of land that we're reclaiming. And we've been in a drought. Luckily, we got about 1 inch of rain this week while we've been gone. We need to leave more often, I guess. But y'all come out. You can let us know would be best so we know how to prepare. We're going to have on-farm meats and all too.
One thing I might say is we had a barn burned down in, was that April, I think? Our dairy barn. It was almost finished, and it burned down. And our customers gave us $70,000 to build a new one. And just within about a month and a half or so. I think we got a lot more than that, but it was just people just handing us checks and handing us cash. And I wrote 325 thank you notes. And that's what happens when it's not just people walking up and that you're trying to change their minds. This is what you have when you build a community, and people really feel like they're partners. We have 70 cow share owners, so the majority of the people that gave us money don't even get milk from us. But they still knew that we had a need, and they took care of it.
I'll tell you something about the milk, and I tell this rather often, but is you can set a jug of commercial milk on the shelf and then put the raw milk next to it, and within 3 days, no refrigeration, it's going to be putrid, the commercial milk, and this other is just kind of going over to yogurt, and it's not putrid at all. So it's amazing that we've gone down this path. I used to not like commercial, raw milk. When I got it out of my grandfather's milk tank. I don't know if it was the way it was done. It was 100 cow dairy, I guess, and it could be my age, but this is wonderful milk now. We also milk a few sheep just for our own use, and that's incredible how that sheep milk is. I wanted to back up to Russ's talk on silvopasture and say something. I know this is getting us off a little, but I planted a tree when my daughter was born, and she's 27 now, and that pin oak is 27-inch diameter. So trees are not that slow. It's that wide. And that's up here. If you're selling timber, the logger measures at the base of the stump. So if you did a diameter limit cut and you said 24-inch, just about every tree is 24-inch down here. When you're talking about a forester, they're looking at breast height, and it's a big difference in those two. So be sure you're communicating right. Shouldn't do a diameter limit cut anyway, but just for information. I wanted to get off on that sidetrack. So I guess we're ready for questions, right?
All right, any questions for Debbie and Greg?
So Debbie, you're talking about the community that you built. So can you talk a little bit about how long it took to build the community and a couple of the most critical steps in doing that?
Yeah, so when we very first started the farm, we didn't have any land, and we were borrowing like 15 acres over here and 20 acres over there. I'd throw my kids into the car with their homeschool books. We'd go from one farm to another, and then on Saturdays, we'd go to the farmer's market. And we started out making like $200. We were way out in the parking lot. And so starting at that point, and I think we have a lot of customers who started back then. I mean, it didn't take us too long to get to 600. And so many of those people have been with us. And like through COVID, I said our business tripled. And they actually changed the farmer's market a little bit to accommodate our lines because the mayor of Nashville was not happy that our lines were so long. If you think they had to be 6 feet apart, like they were snaking. And so I think just since that's always been my focus is community, and like you're our partner. There's nothing that I send out that I don't end with, we could not do this without you. As Alan was saying earlier, when somebody contacts us and they're like, oh my gosh, we don't know what we would do without you, it's immediately like, well, we don't know what we would do without you. I couldn't farm this way if I didn't have people that were willing to pay. I mean, we're always the highest at every farmer's market we're at.
Talk about the money, farming with money.
Yeah, well, I always told my kids there's a difference of farming with money and farming for money, and we farm for money. And so it's, every blade of grass always had to make us money. And my website has always had to change because I was a nomadic farmer for a long time, and I still had to make people have confidence in me as a farmer. And then when I finally got land, because I was socially disadvantaged, did not have a husband, then the website changed at that point. But it's always been the same, that we are a community, and I'll talk about how they've entered into another cycle. Like our farm is just nothing but cycle after cycle. And they've jumped into a cycle with us of supporting us to regenerate the land.
Great. Anybody else?
So first of all, Debbie, I want to say amazing.
Oh.
And I've been raising animals for a decade, and I had tears in my eyes with the cow. Like,
was a
come
good
on
one.
now. How many cows have I watched? Okay. Good job, girl. So my big question to you is then, if you had to say, so I get community, I get partner, but if you had to say one word to those of us that have to market, what would it be?
I think the very first thing is to figure out how you want to sell your product. So decide, like, I never want to go to a farmer's market. I hate that. So then, what are your options? You know, your options are maybe like people coming to the farm. If I was only going to sell to restaurants, I wouldn't even have a website. So figuring that out first, and then going from there is going to save you a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of energy. And not trying to sell to somebody who's not your customer. I think knowing who your customer is not is just as important as knowing who your customer is.
You notice she had names for her cattle, and mine are number 99, 136, whatever it might be. So I don't get, it's harder for me to sell when I'm talking about 136 versus Tippy Toe or whoever it was. Yeah, that's right.
I did a newsletter not long ago where I was talking about milking my one single dairy sheep, and her name is Clementine. And I was just talking about, like, I get out there, I milk her, I move her to a different pasture, I move her apple cider vinegar, I move her dog, I move, everything with her. And then I said, walking back to the house, I realized that, everything on the farm gets the Clementine treatment. And I had so many people, well, my kids told me they had so many people at the farmer's market saying, oh my gosh, the Clementine treatment, that's so amazing that we get the food that gets the Clementine treatment.
With your marketing through the years, does it ebb and flow? Because you have certain things that are available and certain things aren't? Do you ebb and flow?
We have a lot of partners that we work with right now. Like, my farm that I bought was 20 acres. So, we do 4,000 birds. We sell 4,000 birds in a year. We do sell out of that. We're hoping to go to, 5,000 next year. But I'll let my customers know what's coming and what's going. And I'll say, there's just, this is it for the chicken. All we have left is drumsticks and wings, and then all my recipes will be drumsticks and wings from
Trying
them.
to communicate during the downtime?
Absolutely.
So you're
Yep.
communicating all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But you're productive or fulfilling certain times.
Yep. Yeah. We're doing pretty good at keeping product in.
How many weeks is your farmer's market?
At the farmer's market.
Is it all the time or is
Yes. Oh my
couple
gosh,
weeks?
yes. No, it's year round. Oh yeah. Yeah, I literally paid my bills every week from what I made at the farmer's market on Saturday. I didn't make any, neither my son or I ever worked off the farm. So whatever I sold on that Saturday was how I paid my bills.
Check.
The newsletter is really important. I guess I'll say this too. I've never had a Facebook page. I've never had Instagram. I don't do any social media at all. Yeah, I don't have time. I'm not big on social media in that, I'm a total control freak. And I don't want people being advertised. I don't want people to look me up on Facebook and have 15 farms in my area that they can click on below me. That's why I've put everything into the website. And, I think another thing that's really important is to think, everybody is too many. I don't want everybody. It's like Alan was saying, even my newsletter email list is 1,360 people or something. Like, that's too many. I'm constantly cutting that down. If somebody doesn't read 3 newsletters, like, they're out. Because I really want to just be speaking to my customer. The other thing about newsletters, and people read newsletters. Like, I've been a huge newsletter fan. I started writing newsletters in 2001. But it's a Facebook mentality is like, oh, I have 13,000 friends. Like, that really will go against you when you're using like Klaviyo or Constant Contact or MailChimp. If you're sending out to, like even me, 1,300 people, I have a 57% open rate, which is huge. For agriculture, it's like 26% or something. But I'd like to be a lot higher, and I get higher by cleaning my newsletter list.
And we keep our websites separate. I have a separate website from hers, and she does my website too. But mine's more on production and management and all, and then hers is on the marketing and product.
Can you elaborate on your cow sharing that you mentioned?
Yeah, we've had a cow share now for 30 years, and
Herd share, right?
Same thing, yeah. And we were the test case in Indiana. They took us to court for that, which was no fun. And so through that, I have a 6-page contract if anybody ever wants it. But we really like the cow share, especially, I had 2 cows that I really started out with. And as far as a scarcity model, I don't ever want to be able to give everybody milk that wants milk from me. I'll tell people when they contact me, and I'll say, you'll probably never get milk from me, but like I'll put you on the list just in case.
Hadn't you cut that off though? They can't sign up anymore?
No,
Oh.
Yeah, because we do so we milk, I think we've got 15 cows. We're 100% grass fed, keep the babies on the moms. We only milk once a day. And that's what my letter says when somebody says, can I be on your cow share list? I say, our cow share is very different. We don't bring anything in that's not 100% grass fed from birth and organic. I'll list, like, it's still advertising for me. This is what we do. This is why our dairy is so different, and this is why you'll probably never get milk from us. But they'll almost always buy beef and lamb and other things from us because they realize everything's getting the Clementine treatment. And so we really like the cow share. One thing I was telling somebody yesterday about the cow share, like I would start my milk. If I was doing it today, I would start at $18 a gallon. And you'll never have trouble selling it at $18 a gallon. Oh, gosh, yeah. Our yogurt we can make $40 a gallon off of our yogurt. And so when I started 30 years ago, my milk was like $1.50 or something like that. So it's way harder to increase than it is to just, I could market my milk like crazy if it was $18. And that's the other thing, is that like our eggs are more than anybody else's at the farmer's market. And I watch people walk in, will be sold out of eggs, and they will not buy eggs from my neighbor. And the reason that they don't is because they feel like at that price, they're cutting a corner. And they trust me, they trust my pricing, and so I think underpricing your stuff is it's a really bad marketing move. Did I answer enough about the cow share? Yeah, we really like it. It's a really good source of income all year long. So we're going to start a sheep milk.
Yeah, don't overlook the sheep
Yeah.
as a milk source.
Yeah.
It's naturally homogenized. It can be frozen, and it doesn't mess up the constitution of it.
Yeah,
Am I
it
saying
makes
that right?
amazing yogurt, but we'll be at $16 a quart.
When she cooks
on the-
something with cow milk, it's really good, but the sheep milk brings it up to a whole nother level. There's no off twang like there is with goat's milk. It's got that different flavor, so the sheep milk doesn't really have that.
And I love those revenues off of, my sheep, my wool sheep. I love being able to get meat and wool off of one sheep.
So what is your pricing structure for your herd shares?
For the herd share, it's $30 to get a share, and that gets you the contract. And right now, it's $13 a gallon. It'll be $15 in January.
One thing she's told me is by pricing the herd share lower, you get more people to own the cow, so you can sell more milk to more people.
We used to be at 100. We've had a lot, when we were in Indiana and had the cease and desist order, after all of that stuff with the Board of Animal Health and everything, it was ultra strict. Like, you had to get 4 gallons of milk a week. You paid the boarding, like that's what the state wanted. They wanted it, it was like $32 or whatever. And if you didn't pick up your milk, you didn't pick up your milk. When we moved to Kentucky, I told my kids, like, I'm not gonna do that. If it doesn't fly, just like, if you wanna order, you go on Barn to Door and you just order. But you can only see it on Barn to Door if you have a cow share. Otherwise, my dairy section doesn't come up for anyone, and I like that a lot. Yeah, it's changed over the years, and I had a friend, Max Stone, that was with the Department of Ag in Kentucky, and he would call me and he would say, Debbie, they're looking at your website, and I would take down my cow share page. Then he would call me up and say, you're good, and I would put the cow share page back up.
Remember, you're being filmed.
Oops. Sorry, sorry, Mac.
Remember to edit that out.
You mentioned having a love-hate relationship with the Barn to Door. Would you be able to elaborate on, what some of the, maybe not necessarily issues, but complications,
Yeah.
things like that?
I think, again, as a control freak, when I used EasyCart, like I like to control everything on my website, and that Barn to Door took a lot of that away, and I couldn't understand why. They know me very, very well at Barn to Door. and I have had them change some things on Barn to Door. They're really receptive. I would just over and over again, like one thing I hate about Barn to Door is that they use Stripe, and I can't charge my 3% to the customer. Where at the farmer's market, we have a sign up that says if you use a credit card, you get charged 3%. Stripe doesn't allow me to do that, and they, for some reason, they had a tip thing. And so I put a banner across my Barn to Door that said, this is not for a tip. This is for helping me to pay this fee. So now they've changed it so that you can click on like a tip or to help the fees. But we sold $518 worth of meat, milk, and eggs last year, and $518,000. And that's all at 3%. That is a chunk of change. So that's one of my biggest pet peeves. What my children loved about it was people not ordering milk who didn't have a cow share. So now being able to hide that dairy section if you don't have a cow share, that's really good. And then, everything's just like, this is your basic, and if you want better reporting, which I do, I love that, it's $29 a month more. Like it's, so, you know, and then I didn't want them to do a website. For the initial $1,400, they will make a website for you. Well, I want to own everything. I want to own every picture. I want to own every post. I don't want, like, I heard of another farmer who was using, I think, Squarespace or something, forgot to pay the bill, and lost everything that was on the site. Yeah, well, yeah, barn to door, I definitely own everything. I make it on, I mean, if you do your own, if they do a website for you,
Now, even if they do
nice.
a website, you own it all.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, there's more things coming up. There's an Airmart thing. I get at least 2 emails from Airmart every day trying to get me to switch from barn to door. And I sent something to barn to door of like, look, I'm getting this twice a day. You need to think about that, because what Airmart did was they realized, like, this thing where you can only use Stripe is a problem. So that's how they market to me. Is they'll say, you can use Venmo, you can use PayPal, you can use whatever you want.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good job.